Welcome back to Revenge in Reverse, where justice never looks like justice, and the monsters you fear most are the ones hiding behind your own eyes. He begged, didn't he? But the silence you gave him echoed louder than his screams ever could. It wasn't rage that made you quiet. It was precision. It was poetry. So now tell me, when did you first start enjoying the sound of someone breaking under the weight of their own guilt? You didn't flinch when he cried. You didn't tremble when he whispered your name like it meant something. He thought his pain would reach you. He thought you'd soften. But you watched him the way a surgeon watches a body before the first incision. Still, focused, detached. He called it a misunderstanding. You called it a betrayal. And maybe there was a time when you would have let him explain. But that version of you is gone. You buried it beneath every time he made you question your own voice. Your silence used to be survival. Now it's power. Do you remember how heavy that silence used to be? How it filled your mouth like stones every time you wanted to scream? You held it for so long, it became a second skin. And now, it's his turn to wear it. There is a strange kind of satisfaction in watching someone break without a single raised voice. No chaos, no yelling, just the slow collapse of someone who finally realizes they don't control the story anymore. You were always the quiet one, but your quiet has evolved. It's sharper now. It cuts deeper than anything you could say. He still doesn't understand that. He thinks power is volume. But you've learned the truth. Real power is refusal. It's the calm stare that doesn't blink. It's the choice not to reply. And he begged. At first with words, then with memories, then with silence of his own. But you stood still. You didn't respond. You didn't move. You became the storm that never made a sound. He thought you were gone. He thought you were hollow. But while he forgot you, you were transforming. You were becoming something new, something cold, quiet, and untouchable. And your thoughts, they turned. They sharpened. They stopped asking why and started whispering watch. Even your memories stopped believing him. They came back clearer, without the filters, without the lies. The smiles looked forced. The apologies sounded rehearsed. And suddenly, the love you thought you had looked more like manipulation. The night it shifted, you remember exactly. You weren't sleeping. You were lying still, watching the ceiling, listening to your heartbeat like it was a countdown. And something inside you rose up. Not a scream. Not a tear, just a quiet knowing. You stopped waiting for him to fix it. You stopped hoping for anything. That's when everything changed. The photos looked like evidence. The gifts looked like guilt. Even his messages, they sounded like threats wearing perfume. And still he came back. Later, of course. Always too late. He said he was sorry. He said he never meant to hurt you. He said all the things he thought would matter. But you didn't feel moved. You felt insulted. He wanted forgiveness like it was a performance. He wanted applause for showing up late to the crime scene. But you weren't in the audience anymore. You were directing the ending. And in your ending, there's no redemption. Only silence. The kind that echoes in his head every night. The kind that fills his lungs when he reaches for his phone and still sees nothing from you. The kind that makes him wonder if he ever really knew you at all. Because here's the truth. Revenge doesn't always come with fire. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's a calm smile. Sometimes it's just never saying his name again. And the best part, you didn't destroy him. You simply let him live with himself. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to justify the way you walked away. You're not seeking approval. You're seeking peace. And peace for you sounds a lot like silence. Now, he's the one pacing. He's the one replaying the past. He's the one hearing your voice in the places you never wanted to be. You've become the ghost he summoned, not with candles or rituals, but with every lie he told and every truth he twisted. And you walk heavier now, not from grief, but from clarity. You carry all the pieces he tried to shatter, and you've turned them into armor. So tell me again, when did you stop needing his apology? When did you start enjoying the way he breaks in slow motion? Because now, every tear he cries tastes like justice. Every sleepless night is a tribute to the pain he handed you. And this is only the beginning. There are more stories, more silence, more ghosts to raise. Because your silence, it wasn't the end. It was the part where he finally started listening. And now, we begin. The walls are white, not clean white, not that. More like the kind of white that's been washed too many times, faded, worn. The kind of white that hums if you stare too long. You've been staring for hours. There's a chair beneath you, metal, hard. The room doesn't offer comfort. It's not built for that. It's built to erase. You sit in it anyway, still, breathing, pretending not to feel, pretending the silence doesn't itch beneath your skin like something growing roots, pretending that nothing is whispering inside your chest. But it is. It's always whispering. Your hands rest in your lap, knuckles scraped, dry. You don't remember hitting anything. You never do. It's always like this. Moments go missing, like teeth under a pillow, and something dark leaves payment in their place. There used to be a window here. You think. You remember light. Or maybe that was just the lie you told yourself. He said it once, remember. You make everything so dramatic. He smiled. As if your unraveling was funny. You almost laughed with him. Almost. But you didn't. And that's when you knew he wouldn't survive you. A sound in the ceiling breaks your focus. Not a fan. Just the ticking. Like a heartbeat trapped in drywall. Tick, tick, tick. Something behind your eye begins to throb. You were 8. You found a bird, broken and twitching on the side of the road. Its wings were torn. It was still alive. You didn't cry. You just watched. You memorized the shape of its suffering. Later, your mother asked what you were doing out there. You said, I was helping. And she believed you. They always believe you. It's not that you lie well. It's that you look so empty when you do it. This room sees that. This room knows. The silence isn't soft. It's sharp. It slices through your thoughts, clean and precise. Like a scalpel to the soul. There's no clock here, but the air feels heavier. Time doesn't pass. It tightens. It feeds. You shift in the chair. Something stirs beneath your skin. Not pain. Not quite. It's a hunger. A quiet, specific hunger. Not for food. Not for touch. You want to be seen. But not the way most people mean that. You want to be seen the way you see yourself at 3 in the morning. Half monster, half memory. He made you feel that once. When his voice cracked on your name. When he couldn't look you in the eye. That flicker of fear, right before the apology. It warmed you. He thought it was love. It wasn't. It was power. You smile now. Just slightly. The metal wall catches your reflection. A stretched version of you. Longer. Thinner. Hungrier. She stares. You stare back. No cameras. No one's watching. But you perform anyway. Like a dancer rehearsing in an empty room. Bleeding into mirrors. Hoping to be good enough to ruin someone. You slide a hand into your coat. There's something there. Not a knife. Just a key. Cold. Familiar. You promised yourself you'd never use it again. But you will. Of course you will. Because forgetting is fake. And forgiveness is for people who never meant it. You stand. Slowly. The chair creaks. As if it wants to keep you. But you don't belong to it anymore. One step. Then another. The floor is too clean. You want to stain it. You begin walking the edges of the room. Clockwise. Always clockwise. Because going left is grief. And going right means control. You don't grieve the things you break. You catalogue them. There's a mark in the far corner, faint, brownish red. You crouch beside it, touch it, dry, but your body remembers what it used to be, the warmth of something fresh, the thickness of silence after someone begs. You close your eyes, and there he is again, his mouth open, trying to say your name, his hands shaking, you calm, telling him this isn't punishment, this is proof. He didn't understand. They never do. You stand again. The light above you flickers once, then steadies. You take it as a sign, not from God. You stop believing in that. You believe in patterns, in symmetry. There's something holy in making pain balanced. You place your hand on the door, cold. It's open. You never heard it unlock, but it always opens when you're ready. You look back once. The room is shrinking in your mind now, becoming smaller, easier to leave behind. You step into the hallway, dim light, walls like skin, the air tastes like metal and memory. Far away, someone calls your name, your real one, not his, not anyone else's. But you don't answer. You walk faster, down, down, always down, into the next room, into the next version of you. There's a smell here, faint, chemical, familiar. It reminds you of your hands, after scrubbing his blood off the bathroom sink, and you wonder, almost gently, what part of you had to die, so the rest could finally feel alive. You kept the pieces, the ones they thought you'd throw away, the ones still wet with blood, still shaking from the last hands that touched them. You held them like dead birds, not with grief, but with intention. You didn't say goodbye. You whispered commands, because you never believed in healing. Healing is silence dressed up as surrender. You believed in repurposing, so you sorted every fragment, every lie, every betrayal, every moment they looked away while pretending to care, like knives in a drawer, sharp. Ready. Yours. You remember the sound before the mirror cracked. Not the break itself, the decision in it. Like the glass knew it was about to become something dangerous. And you didn't flinch. You watched as your reflection split into 100 versions of you. One wept, one screamed, one smiled like it knew something. You picked that one, the one that smiled. Now you wear it, a face that knows, a face that doesn't twitch when they say, let it go, a face that doesn't forget. Not ever. You don't forgive. You aim better. You remember that night. Was it last week? Was it years ago? Does it matter? You found her photo, not of you her. The friend whose name made their mouth twitch. You sat in the dark with it. The edge of the frame cut into your skin. You thought, just for a second, about peeling her smile off and wearing it. But you didn't need to. You already took everything she had. You became the consequence. Perfumed and patient. You are the memory stuck in their sheets, long after they've changed the bed. They scrub and still, they smell you. That's real revenge. Not the scream, not the slap, not the poison, but the lingering. You're not thunder. You're the heavy air after it. You choke the room without saying a word. You smile, and they flinch. They don't know why, but you do. Even your kindness is edged now. Every "it's okay" is a trapdoor. Every hug is timed. Every forgiveness is bait. And they believe you. They always do. That stay close. You give them warmth. They don't realize you're the fire. They breathe you in. They don't taste the gasoline. You've made it an art, a ritual, a dance with blood beneath your shoes. Late at night, their voice still visits you. Not the words, just the tone, that pitiful slurred, "I didn't mean to." You remember how your body knew it was a lie before your brain did. And in those moments, you don't cry. You calculate. You design. Because pain, when curated becomes power. You've turned every heartbreak into stained glass, built a cathedral from it. And when they kneel before you now, asking for mercy, you smile, not because you forgive, but because you already decided how they'll burn. And you won't say a word. You'll just hand them water that tastes like the river they once drowned you in, and wait for them to drink. Sometimes you think about stopping, just once, putting the knives down, touching someone without wondering how many ribs it would take to crush them. But then you remember the night they lied, looked you in the eyes and still lied, like you were too stupid to notice. You remember how no one swept up your pieces. So you did, not to clean, to collect. And now, you keep them in your pocket, like charms, like a spell, each one with a name, the smallest one, shaped like a crescent moon. You call it trust. You press it into your palm whenever you make a promise you don't mean. You wonder, does that make you a monster? Maybe, but more than that, it makes you ready. The world didn't ask you to be soft. It asked you to survive, and you did, so well that they think you're happy. You've become beautiful in the way venom does. All color, all bloom, all danger. You don't even need to hurt them anymore. You just exist, and that's enough. Still, some nights you press those pieces tighter. You feel their hands on you, still, their scent like oil, their voice like mold, and just when sleep comes you hear it. Not outside, inside, a whisper, a question, the same one always. Do you remember what you buried beneath the floorboards? And you do, but we'll dig it up later. The room hasn't changed, but you have. His voice crawls toward you like something injured, dragging itself across the floor in pieces. He says, "I'm sorry," are 2 words, so soft, too late. He's standing in the doorway now, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like he's unsure whether he's entering a church or a cage. You don't move. You let him feel the weight of your stillness. He doesn't look at you. He watches the floor, as if guilt could be swept into the cracks between the tiles. You don't offer him a chair. He doesn't ask. His apology comes again, this time with a tremble, and this time you taste it, like salt, like iron, like something old bleeding into something new. You imagine peeling the words from his mouth, word by word, with your fingers. He tries to stay composed, tries to explain, but his guilt is too tidy, too rehearsed, like a speech written for someone else's pain. You give him a smile, just a small one, enough to make his shoulders tighten. He says he didn't mean to hurt you. You believe him, because men like him never do. They only mean to take. He says, "I didn't know." But the wound doesn't care what the blade meant. It only knows how deep it went. You ask him, "What are you sorry for?" He blinks. You wait, but he has no answer that sounds like truth. So you rise, slowly, deliberately you walk to him, not like a person, but like a decision. He leans back without meaning to, just enough to tell you everything. Your fingers touch the edge of his shirt, the same one he wore the night he lied, the one that probably still smells like her. You don't press your face into it. You don't need to. You lean in, and you whisper, "I forgave you when I needed to believe your lies. But now that I see you, there's nothing left to forgive." He flinches. His face folds in on itself. You think about kissing him, not out of love, but to see if he'd taste like regret. He mutters something. You don't hear it. The blood in your ears is louder. You turn your back, not as mercy, but as a sentence. That's what breaks the silence. The finality of being unseen. You are done, not angry, not broken, just finished. He steps forward, hand raised, and you stop him with a look. No words, no tears, just distance. He understands now that some apologies don't heal. They rust. You open the door. He hesitates. You don't. He leaves. But his scent stays, like mildew, like memory. You close the door slowly. Feel the cool wood against your palms, like a goodbye you didn't speak aloud. You sit in the chair he didn't dare take. The air wraps around you, tighter than before. You whisper his name once, just to hear how it sounds now. It doesn't sound like love. It tastes like rust. And maybe that's the point, because even pain decays. But tell me, if he came back again, if he begged, would you let him kneel this time? Would you press your thumb to his throat and finally make him mean it? You don't touch the dial anymore. The static finds you first. It slips in like breath through cracked lips. It pulls you closer like a memory you never buried right. It's not just noise. It's her, living in the wires, in the buzz, in the flicker between silence and sound. You still remember the pitch of her last laugh. It lives inside the static like a ghost in amber. You sit in the dark now, lights off, curtains closed, radio on, always on. They told you to let her go, but they never understood. She never left. There's a ghost in your chest. It hums her name every time your heart skips. That happens more now. The skipped beats, the warmth behind your eyes. A doctor once said it's just stress. But the doctor didn't hear her whisper your name through the speaker last Tuesday. That voice. You know it. Sharp like broken glass, but soft at the edges, like she's smiling just before she ruins you. It begins again, the crackling, first just air, then something more, then her voice, a breath, a pause, then, do you miss me yet? Not a question, a dare. You say nothing, you never do. Your hand moves toward the knob, then stops. You know the rules now. If you touch the dial, she goes quiet. That's how this works. She only stays when you don't interfere. The signal shifts again. It sounds like rain now. Or maybe bones. It's hard to tell anymore. Your ears don't hear sound the way they used to. They hear memory. You remember the first time she screamed and no one came. You remember because you did. You came with fire in your hands and a promise in your mouth. They forgot me, she says. You nod, even though she can't see you. You lit the candles. You burned the photos. You carved her name into your skin. You did everything right. But she's still here, still waiting, still hungry. The radio pops. A laugh comes through. It's her, but deeper, like she's underwater. You haven't slept in weeks. She sings to you now, the same broken song, over and over. A song she never finished. A song you didn't know you knew. You hum along. You hum until your teeth ache, until your own name disappears. She never asked you to be perfect. She just wanted you to try. You remember the night it all changed. The headlights, the screaming, the silence after. They told you it wasn't your fault, but they were wrong. You heard her last breath. It wasn't fear, it was relief. She thought you would follow her. She waited, but you stayed behind. Now you know why she lingers. Not because of guilt, not because of pain, but because you didn't come with her. The static pulses, then something else. A memory breaks through. Her voice in the rain, saying things you never wrote down. You were the only one I ever lied to. That's what she said. That's what you hear now. But why lie to you? You were the only one who stayed. Maybe that's why. Maybe she didn't want you to see her fall apart. Maybe she wanted you to fall next. The feedback rises, loud, sharp. Then, silence. You freeze. Not because the sound is gone, but because she might be. You shake the radio. You rewind the tape. You flip switches you've already broken. Anything to bring her back. Then, soft, her breath again. You're listening now, she says. But are you ready to hear? You don't speak. You just feel everything tear open inside. This isn't mourning. This is worship. The room is her shrine. Her old sweater still hangs on the chair. It hasn't moved. Neither have you. Time doesn't live here anymore. Only echoes. She's getting clearer. Less static. More real. They buried my name, she says. But you kept the echo. You nod. You've always been good at holding what hurts. She tells you something next. A truth you aren't ready for. He's still alive. The words hit like a knife. You thought that night ended everything. You thought he died. But maybe it wasn't your story after all. Maybe it was hers. You scream, but no sound leaves your mouth. It breaks inside you. She laughs again. That cruel, soft laugh, as if to say, what did you think this was? Closure. You stand. The room tilts. The radio hums behind you. You're already reaching for your coat. Already outside. Already moving. Somewhere, it starts to rain. Same rhythm. Same echo. Her voice is no longer in the radio. It's in you. In every step. In every breath. In every plan you haven't said aloud yet. And in the quiet, a question coils like smoke. When you find him, will you speak with her voice? Or your own? You were always good at pretending the dead stayed quiet. You learned early how to breathe around bones, how to smile with blood in your mouth. You knew how to hide things beneath floorboards, behind wallpaper, inside your own skin. But silence doesn't mean it's gone. It means it's waiting. You still remember the necklace in your hand, cool, coiled like a whisper. You told yourself it was just an object, just a reminder, just wait. But even buried, it burned, not in the ground, in you. Some nights, the ground feels like it moves. The dirt exhales, and you feel its breath on your neck. You hear it in the drawer that creaks open by itself. You see it in shadows that don't move right. The voicemail is still in your head. The last thing she said before she became something else. Don't hang up. She didn't say your name. She didn't have to. Her voice cracked on the word sorry, like glass about to break. You deleted that message, erased every trace. But sometimes you still hear it. In the static of the TV, in the water running in the sink, in the pause between your blinks. You sit on the edge of the bed, wrists on your knees, breathing cold fog into a room that shouldn't be this cold. The drawer opens again, just a crack, like it's inviting you. You know what's inside. You don't need to look. You feel it. Hair caught in the necklace clasp. A photo where your smile is just slightly wrong. Her letter, the one you didn't burn, the one that starts with, you promised. You tore that letter into pieces, swore it was gone. But now the pieces are whole, reassembled by hands that aren't yours. You didn't bury them deep enough. The air hums. Low, thick. Your heartbeat slows to match something crawling. You want to call it guilt. You want to believe it's just memory. But you know better. She's walking through your dreams, not as a ghost, as something alive. It started there, but now it's bleeding out. You hear knocking. Not on the door inside the walls, above you, in the attic, in the pipes, soft tapping, like bones learning how to knock. Not begging, just reminding. You once whispered to her, "You'll always be part of me," and she believed you. Now you taste her name in your food. The mirrors blink slower than you. The house is always colder. You say it's in your head, but the scratches under the bed are new. So is the dark hair wrapped around your toothbrush. She's learning you again. Your breath, your rituals, your lies. The drawer opens wider. Inside, a memory with teeth. You don't touch it, not yet. But it's watching. Guilt isn't just a feeling. It's a shape, a sound, a scent. The perfume on a sweater you thought you gave away. Her laugh behind the fridge hum. The shape of her shoulder in the fogged mirror. She's not haunting you. She's inhabiting you. And you're starting to like it. You flinch at your reflection, not from fear, but because you almost smiled. How long has it been since you slept without hearing her breathe? The worst things you buried weren't objects. They were promises, and promises decay differently. They grow eyes. They grow mouths. They speak. When the house gets quiet enough, you hear her walking, barefoot, down the hall. She stops at the door, just like she used to, and breathes in. You swear she's standing behind you. Warm, real. The drawer shuts by itself. The room feels full. You don't turn around. You don't have to. She's here. You know it. In your blood. In that soft, secret joy behind your fear. You wonder, did she forgive you? Or did she come back because you never said goodbye? And now, the walls begin to whisper the things you've confessed in sleep. But you'll only hear the ending if you listen alone. It starts with a crack in the mirror. Not shattered. Just a fine line running through your left eye. Like something whispered through glass. You didn't notice it before, or maybe it wasn't there. But now, it's all you see. A split. A fracture in your face. You lean closer. Skin nearly touching the surface. Your breath fogs the mirror. A soft bloom over cold glass. You wipe it away. But the reflection stays blurred. That version of you on the other side. It's still watching. Still smiling. But only slightly. Something's wrong with that smile. It lingers too long. You try to keep your face neutral. Calm. But the image holds on to something else. A flicker of satisfaction. Like it's been waiting for you to notice the truth. You don't remember when the mirror started lying. Maybe it never did. Maybe it was you. Always you. Trying to tell a softer version of what really happened. A cleaner story. A quieter grief. But the truth doesn't care for pretty. You tilt your head. The reflection copies you, but not exactly. You pause. The room smells like old rain and lavender, the kind she used to wear, the kind she dabbed behind her ears, and sometimes on your throat. Laughing. Always laughing. Like if she kept laughing, you'd never notice the way her touch had turned cold. Your mouth tastes like copper. Like coins and swallowed words. You press your hand to the mirror, expecting cool glass, but it's warm, pulsing, like something alive is watching from the other side. When you pull your hand away, there's blood on your fingertip. The crack is growing, stretching across your face. No longer just a flaw, now it's a wound. The you in the mirror leans forward. It whispers, without lips, without sound. But somehow you still hear it, eh? You were never meant to survive her. You close your eyes. She's still there. Not the way she looked in the end, but before. Before things fell apart. When she kissed you like she believed in you. When her hands held your face like it meant something. And underneath all that, the truth you refused to say out loud. She smiled as she left. Not with sadness. Not with regret. But with relief, you open your eyes again. The reflection has changed. It doesn't look like you anymore. Its smile is wider. Its eyes darker. Like something wild has taken your place. It's mouthing words. You don't want to read them. But you already know. It knows what you did after she left. What you said in the dark. What you whispered to no one in her absence. It knows about the voicemail you saved. The last one, not because of what she said, but because of what she didn't. That long silence where, I love you, never came. You listened to it, over and over, until the silence became louder than the sound. The mirror says, you wanted her to leave. You just didn't want to be the villain. You stay quiet. Because it's true, you wanted her to stay. But only the version that loved you the way you needed, not the one who pulled away, not the one who laughed at the wrong time, not the one who looked at you like she was already halfway gone. And now the version in the mirror looks more like her than it does you. Maybe that's the point. Maybe she took the parts of you that mattered when she left. You open the drawer. Inside, a box, her necklace, her notes, a movie ticket, July, a storm. You promised something that night, but you never kept it. You hold the pieces like they might explain everything. They don't. Back at the mirror, it's quiet. But something's changed. The reflection stands taller now, It looks at you like it pities you, or like it's about to take something from you. You mouth a question you don't say aloud. Am I the version that lost her, or the one that let her go? The mirror doesn't answer. It just smiles. That's when you see it, through the glass. Another room, your room, but wrong. Too neat, too dark, and someone's in it, brushing her hair in the shadows. She's wearing your shirt. And for a second, just one, your heart stumbles. It's her. But when she turns, it's not. It's you. Another version, still brushing her hair, still smiling, still waiting. You step back. The room spins. Your hands don't feel like your own. You want to scream, but instead you laugh. Low, shaky, broken, and the mirror, it laughs too. Not in sound, in movement. The reflection walks away. You're not in the mirror anymore. You're just standing here, alone, looking into glass that no longer shows your face. No reflection, no version of you. Just the crack and silence, until you hear it. A door opening behind you. Even though you never moved, you don't turn around, because the footsteps sound like yours. And when the mirror goes dark, there's only one reason. Something else has started remembering. He cries like you didn't see him sharpen the blade. The sound he makes is low and wet, like something broken pretending it can still beg. He clutches his chest as if there's something tender inside. But you know there isn't. Not really. You've lived inside the echo of his voice too long to believe it hides anything soft. He says your name. You don't answer. Not out of anger. Not even out of pain. Just indifference. A silence so clean, it slices deeper than shouting ever could. The kind of silence that's no longer a wound, but a weapon. He cries louder. You see it now. The performance behind the tears. The way his shoulders shake, but always at the right time. The pause between sobs, like he's waiting to be watched. It's all rehearsal, all stage. And you've stopped buying tickets. He used to bleed without ever being cut. You used to be the one holding out the bandages. Not anymore. You just watch. He sniffs, hiccups, says he can't live with the guilt. He paints a picture of nightmares, says he wakes calling your name into the dark, that he dreams of what he did. But the way he says it, it sounds too perfect, too rehearsed. You wonder if he practiced this version of grief in front of the mirror. You almost laugh. But laughter belongs to someone still soft. That part of you, she's gone. Instead, you tilt your head. Just enough to let him know you're not scared. Not sorry. Just curious. He drags himself closer. You don't move. The stillness drives him mad. Makes him fill the space with more noise. More desperate sounds. Every sniffle. Every broken word. It's all part of the show. A show that used to work. Once. He cries like you didn't already bury the version of you who believed in second chances. He tells you he's changed. That he's haunted by what he did. That he'll never forgive himself. He talks about redemption like it's a prize you're holding above his head, but you're not holding anything anymore. You're just standing. Silent, sharp, because now, this isn't about him, or what he did, or what he wants. It's about what you became. You remember the night you stopped needing his apology, the night you looked in the mirror and saw someone else staring back. Someone colder, someone calmer, someone who didn't flinch when love turned violent. And now, here he is, crying at your feet like an actor at the end of his scene. He reaches out. You step back. It's not dramatic, just enough. A small movement, but it changes everything. His voice falters. His rhythm stumbles. He realizes you're not here to forgive him. You're here to watch. And God, does he crumble? He starts to beg. His voice cracks. His breath catches. He says he can't go on like this, without your love. But you remember the nights he lived just fine while loving you wrong. You kneel. Not to comfort him, just to bring your eyes to his, and when he looks into you, really looks, he doesn't see pain. He sees nothing. The tears keep coming, but they fall into an empty room, into silence that no longer holds space for him. He touches your hand. You let him, just long enough for him to believe there's still a chance, just long enough for the lie to reach his chest. Then you pull away, not fast, not harsh, just enough to end the illusion. And that's what breaks him, not your anger. Your calm. He falls apart, in pieces, in sobs, in mess. He mourns what he never really had, what he took for granted, what he thought would always come back. You don't speak, you don't need to. The silence speaks louder now. He cries like he never hurt you, but the walls remember, the floor remembers, even the air in this room carries the weight of what happened. Somewhere in the background, the version of you that once loved him watches. She's quiet, but she doesn't forgive him either. You stand, not to leave, to move forward, because there's still something waiting ahead, something darker, something truer. And as you walk, you hear it, a whisper, low, cold, almost familiar. What if the next one doesn't even pretend to be sorry? You wake up with a metallic taste in your mouth, something like rust, and a tightness in your jaw. You've been holding that smile again, even in your sleep. Not a grin, not joy, just the sharp shape of a decision. He asked you what was different today. You said nothing. But that wasn't true. Today, you remember everything. The way his voice trembled when he said, "I love you." The shift in his tone before the first blow. The silence after it all. Cold, final, like a door slamming shut. Today isn't a fresh start. It's a memory on repeat. And still you smiled, because for once you weren't the one falling apart. You watched him this morning. Hands shaky, eyes dim. He couldn't even hold his coffee without spilling. He hasn't noticed. He still thinks you're soft, that your laughter means safety, that your eyes are looking for peace. But you're not searching anymore. You already know. He thinks you've healed. You let him believe that. Because lies like that are easier for people like him. They don't want to see what they've done. They want happy endings wrapped in silence. You gave him silence. You gave him smiles. And now you're giving him something else. You remember the way he taught you to lie. How to say, "I'm fine," while hiding bruises. How to make pain look like clumsiness. How to fold into yourself without disappearing. He made you small, but you learned. You memorized the cage, the keys, the quiet. Now, when you look at him, you don't see a man. You see a map, soft places, weak points, familiar patterns. You remember the first time you realized you could hurt him back, not with fists, not with words, but with your stillness, with your control, with the way you could vanish into the room while still sitting right in front of him. You wore your pain like a dress. You smiled through the blood. You turned your silence into a weapon. And today, you smiled and meant it. He said he was proud of you, for surviving, for forgiving, for staying. You almost laughed, but instead you smiled. Because you know he thinks the nightmare ended when the crying stopped. But it didn't. It only changed shape. You became quiet. You became calculated. You became cold, not broken. Just changed. He thinks he still knows you, but he only knows the version you let him see. Tonight, you make his favorite dinner. You set the table. You light a candle. You wear that necklace, the one he gave you after the first time he left a mark. You sit across from him. You listen. You nod. You hold his hand. You smile. He doesn't know what it means. He thinks it's love, but it's not. It's the end. He eats. He talks. He relaxes. And you watch, not with fear, not with doubt, with certainty. He thinks you've forgotten. He doesn't see it coming. And you don't even need to lift a finger, because he's already falling apart, piece by piece. He just doesn't know it yet. Later, when he sleeps, you stay awake. You lie still beside him, breathing quiet, and you think, not about leaving, not about staying, but about what comes next. And as the shadows stretch across the ceiling, your last thought wraps itself around your mind like a whisper. What if one day he wakes up, and you're gone, but the mirror still shows your face? He says your name like it's still sacred, like his mouth remembers before it was full of apologies, but you don't respond. You just watch, quiet, still, measuring the quiver in his voice like a surgeon measures the skin before cutting. You aren't angry. Not anymore. Anger fades. This is colder. This is focus. He thinks you've come to talk. You let him think that. Let the silence stretch long and uncomfortable, the kind he mistakes for mercy. Please, he whispers. It cracks before it ends. You tilt your head, just slightly. You want him to hear how weak he sounds, how unfamiliar his voice has become when stripped of control. There's something cruel in how he still searches your face for kindness, as if it might live there. You step closer, not because you need to, but because you know he'll flinch, and he does. That twitch, that sweet automatic fear, you remember it like a favorite scar. You always begged prettier, you say softly, when you thought I wasn't listening. The words land like glass, sharp, clean. He tries to speak, but the words don't make it out. They die behind his teeth, half-born things like guilt trying to find a mouth. And this is what you've been waiting for. Not revenge, not even closure, just this. The moment his breath catches between pride and collapse. The second he becomes something small, something praying. You remind him of things he thought you'd forget, not the obvious betrayals. Those are boring. No, you whisper the tiny sins, the smile he gave someone else 2 weeks before he left, the cigarette he lit after he lied, the way his fingers stayed longer on his phone than they ever did on your skin. Each word, a thread pulled loose. Each detail, a scalpel. You don't yell. You never need to. Your voice is calm, controlled. A scalpel doesn't scream as it cuts. And neither do you. He tries to say he's sorry, but it comes out wrong. Not words, just sound. Like a man choking on the bones of regret. You wonder how many versions of you live in his memory, and which one he's trying to talk to now. The soft one, the one who stayed. Let him talk to ghosts. You've changed houses, built a new room in yourself, painted it black, locked the door from the inside. You don't mean it, you say, and your voice is almost kind. That kindness breaks him. He doesn't understand it. Doesn't see how soft things can be sharp too. You want him confused. You want him drowning in the same voice that once saved him. He breaks, not loudly, not like in stories. No scream, no dramatic fall, just a long exhale, too heavy, a twitch at the mouth, a tremble in his hands. His voice, it breaks in pieces, and it's beautiful, like velvet tearing, like a hymn falling apart. He falls to his knees, like you used to. Not for him, but for the pain. Now you let him go. Let him sink into the carpet. Let him feel the weight of what he did pressed into every breath. You kneel beside him, not to comfort, but to study. Tell me, you whisper, what part hurts the most? He tries hard, but there's no answer. Just noise, just fragments. You listen, not to him, but to the silence between his words. That's where the real music is. The sound of a man breaking in the same room he once left you in, and still, he looks at you like you might forgive him. As if you came here to rebuild, as if your hands still know how to hold, but you're not here to heal. You're here to remember the sound, the exact pitch of his voice, when even he doesn't believe it anymore. The moment he becomes the grave for everything he never said. He tries again. Your name, half-formed. You don't respond. You stand, Let the silence answer him. Let it follow him forever. You walk away, slow, certain, without looking back. Why would you? You already memorized this, replayed it 1,000 times before it ever happened. Behind you, he cries, and it sounds exactly like you hoped it would. Like splinters, like regret collapsing, like the end of pretending. And the silence asks you, as you walk out, was it ever really love? Or just a prettier way to suffer? You sleep now like the dead, still, but not untouched. The room around you feels alive, like it's watching. The ceiling above holds its breath with yours. There is no warmth here, just the echo of a scream that never escaped your mouth. The bed makes a sound when you move, but you're not restless. You've learned to be still. Stillness is power now. Stillness is how you listen for what lingers. He's not here anymore. Not really. But you still feel where he used to lie. His shape is burned into the mattress. The sheets remember him more clearly than you want them to. They whisper memories. Hands that held. Hands that hurt. Breath on your skin, then nothing. You used to fall asleep to the sound of his breathing. Now you count the space between your own. Grief doesn't live here anymore. Grief was a door you opened and closed until the hinges gave out. What remains is something quieter, heavier, a slow, almost sweet feeling that coats your ribs like syrup. It settles in the parts of you where love used to hide. Tonight, the air hums, not with noise, but with knowing. Knowing that your silence will never be interrupted again. He can't. He won't. You don't check the locks anymore. He's not coming back. You don't practice what you'll say. There's nothing left to say. You already spoke in your silence. You ended it without shouting. You vanished from the inside out. And he was left with the hollow sound of his own guilt. There's a photo frame on the dresser, face down. You don't remember flipping it. Maybe he did. Maybe it was too painful for either of you to look at what you became. Either way, the silence in that empty frame is more honest than any smile it used to hold. The clock glows. 3:16 in the morning. A sacred hour for thoughts that shouldn't be named. You remember the way his voice cracked when he lied. How easily you stopped caring. The dream that returns again and again. His hands tied, his mouth sealed shut, and you just standing there watching, not saving him, never saving him. You shift under the covers. The sheets are cold. They've been cold for a long time, but you don't chase warmth anymore. The cold reminds you, this body belongs to you again. Every inch of it. No more bruises mistaken for love. No more asking permission to exist. You wonder if he dreams of you. You hope he does. You hope he wakes up choking on your name. You want him to carry your absence like a wound. He used to ask, "Why do you go so quiet?" And you never answered. Now silence is the only thing you give, and it's the only thing he deserves. Your eyes follow cracks in the ceiling. You see the shape of old arguments. You remember how each one began, too loud, too soft, always too late. You remember doors slamming. Sometimes it felt like he wanted you to chase him. Other times, like he didn't care if you ever followed. You never did. Not once. You curled into yourself instead. You learned how to hibernate inside your pain. You hum a lullaby to yourself now. It has no words. It doesn't need any. Words were twisted too many times. Now, you offer only quiet. He used to say, "You're overreacting." But the house is calmer now. The walls breathe easier. Funny, isn't it? Even the walls knew. Sometimes you remember the night he cried. The real tears. Not the ones for show. The ones that came when he realized you were done. When your eyes gave nothing back. When he saw the ending and couldn't rewrite it. You didn't flinch, you watched. That's what stays with you. Not his pain, but how unmoved you were by it. You wonder if that makes you cruel. Then you remember. That's what he would have said to keep you from leaving. Outside, the world sleeps. But you are wide awake. There is no guilt in this. No shame in survival. Time feels strange here. Everything blends. Past, present, dreams, all melting into each other. You are still the girl who cried in the bathroom. But now you are also the woman who learned to build strength from silence. He will never understand, but he will remember. You press your face to the pillow and breathe out slow, like you're letting his name leave your body. But it stays. It sticks to your throat. You swallow it anyway. You've swallowed worse. The bed doesn't creak now. Not because it forgot him, but because you've stopped reacting. You're not healed. You're not whole. But you are yours. That's the part he'll never forgive. That you found freedom. Not because he gave it, but because you took it. You ripped it from the wreckage of what you used to call love. In the dark you smile. Not wide, not joyful, but enough. Enough to know that silence will never hurt you the way he did. And still, you wonder, if he saw you now, would he recognize this version of you? The one who sleeps with no fear. You imagine his face, pale, confused. You imagine your voice steady, calm, final, and deep inside your stillness, something sharp begins to stir. Or maybe you don't sleep at all. Maybe you're just waiting for the knock that never comes, until it does. Revenge doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just waits. If your thoughts echo in the dark, you're not alone. Subscribe to Revenge in Reverse. We'll keep your secrets. We'll feed your hunger. And we'll whisper the stories no one else dares to tell. Because we understand what it means to sit with quiet rage, to keep replaying the moment you were lied to, not the words, but the silence behind them. The shift in their voice, the way they said your name like it didn't belong to you anymore. You were taught to be kind, to move on, to forgive quickly and forget even faster. But your mind held on, didn't it? It stored the moments, catalogued them, pressed them between the pages of memory like dried flowers that still carried the scent of betrayal. Now, you're different. You don't raise your voice. You don't reach for explanations. You let the silence do the speaking. And it speaks clearly. Your stillness isn't weakness anymore. It's design. It's choice. The kind of choice that holds power. Not the loud kind, but the kind that makes someone wonder what you're thinking and what you'll do next. They thought you'd fall apart. They thought silence meant surrender. But you were never surrendering. You were preparing. You were watching. You were learning. And now, they're the ones unraveling, trying to make sense of the quiet they once forced on you. You don't need revenge to be fire. Sometimes it's ice. Sometimes it's space. Sometimes it's simply never speaking their name again. Let them wonder. Let them lie awake and reach for closure you'll never give. Let them read over old messages and wonder which one was the last real thing you ever meant. Let them panic in the space where your voice used to live. Because you are not gone, you're just no longer available for their games. And that, to them, is unbearable. Here, in this place. This dark corner you come to when the world expects you to smile. You don't have to shrink. You don't have to forgive if you don't want to. You don't have to explain why the silence feels better than any apology they could offer. You are allowed to hold your truth like a blade, quiet, beautiful, untouchable. They will say you're cold now, that you changed, that you forgot how to love, but you didn't forget. You remembered everything, and you finally stopped giving them the best parts of you in exchange for their scraps. That's not cruelty, that's clarity. And clarity is heavy, but it's honest. You've been honest with yourself, about who they were, about what they did, about how long you held your breath, trying to make things easier for everyone but you. Now, you breathe differently, slower, deeper, stronger. You don't chase closure anymore. You are closure. They just haven't realized it yet. So let them come back. Let them knock. Let them beg. You don't need to answer. You don't need to explain. Your silence will say everything. And if they start to cry, if they say they've changed, if they reach for you with trembling hands, remember how many times you reached and they looked away. Remember the nights you cried into your own pillow so no one would hear. Remember how often you rewrote your own boundaries just to make them stay. You don't owe them another version of you. The version you've become now is enough. Strong, still, and unwilling to bleed just to make someone else feel whole. So stay. Stay with us. Here where the stories are sharp and slow. Where the pain doesn't need to be fixed, just understood. Here we remember. We don't forgive too fast. We don't soften just to be liked. We hold our silence like armor, not because we're afraid, but because we know what it can do. Silence doesn't mean nothing. It means everything. It's the pause before the truth, the breath before the final word, the echo that never really ends. And if you're still haunted, that's okay. It means you cared. It means you survived. It means your story isn't over. Not yet. So the next time you sit in the dark and remember something that still burns, don't silence it. Listen, it's not weakness. It's witness. It's the part of you that still knows what happened, still knows what was taken, still knows what never came back. You don't have to heal on a schedule. You don't have to get over it because they did. You're not here to make them comfortable. You're here to make them remember. And if they forget, that's fine. You never will, because your memory is a blade, your silence is a mirror, and your story, it's not meant to end clean. It's meant to linger. So take one last breath, not to forgive, not to forget, but to remember what you're capable of when no one is watching. We'll be here, whispering, waiting, telling the stories that never got closure, and speaking to the part of you that never stopped listening. And now, I only have one question left. If they came back tomorrow, would you answer the door?